we can start, sir.
Rajiv, we can start now.
Okay, sir. So now the topic for discussion today is ancestral property. Now these days this topic has become a bit ticklish because of the interpretation given by the judiciary in some of the cases, wherein they have said that in order to prove this ancestral nature of the property, you have to prove that the property was inherited by the person from 4 degrees. So that is a total misrepresentation and misapplication of the law. Firstly, it is not the 4 generations. Why I say that it is not the 4 generation? If I calculate from myself, then my 3 immediate ancestors, my father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather, we 4 will be constituting the four generations. So it is not from me that 4 generations have to start. Then it will make it to be 5 generations. Now I will ask every one of you to draw a figure. A का बेटा B, B का बेटा C, C का बेटा D, वो कर लीजिए आप H तक. Now if A is the last male holder, right? Then who will be the persons who will be the members of coparcenary will be B, C and D. E, F, G, H, they will never become the members of the coparcenary. Now suppose A dies, first proposition, then B becomes the last male holder, C will come into picture. If C dies, then F will come into picture. And if D is
Hello.
there.
Hello.
Hello.
Anji. Namit, you want to ask something?
Vishal, you please mute all.
Vishal, you mute.
Mute है वैसे. Anji sir.
So suppose C dies, then the coparcenary will be constituted by C, D, E and F. Thereafter D dies, then the coparcenary will be constituted by E, F, G, H. So this is the funda that from the last male holder, from the person from where we have to calculate the 4th generation, rather 3 generations, is the person who is claiming the ancestral property. Now difficulty arises. Suppose B dies, A is still alive. He will not become the member of the coparcenary.
He will not become.
He will not become. Then suppose C dies. Even then F will not, E or F will not become the members of coparcenary. Suppose D dies also, then G will not become the member of the coparcenary. So if B, C and D die, then A will be considered to be the last male holder. He will become the sole owner of the property, sole coparcenary or sole surviving coparcenary. He will be absolutely free to dispose of the property, use the property, and be the absolute and exclusive owner of the property. So when we are to calculate the 4th degree, so we are to calculate from the person from whom we are claiming the property. So suppose we are claiming that property belongs to D. Then we have to see that whether A, B and C, they were holding the property. Now the entire misinterpretation made by in some of the judgments is that you have to prove, if D claims that property is ancestral, then he has to prove that the property has been inherited from A. That is wrong. Because from A, you will sometimes be never able to prove the property to be ancestral, because in agricultural land, there can be some record. But as far as the municipal record is concerned, you will not be able to get the nature of the property determined. Secondly, the question is that if a person dies, suppose D was the last male holder, he becomes the owner of the property. Qua sons of E, if the property has been inherited by E from D, then qua his sons, the property will become ancestral. That is the real concept of law. That if the property has been inherited by the grandfather and it has been inherited by his son, then qua his son, that is the grandson of D, the property will remain to be ancestral property. So when in some of the judgments it has been said that it has to be proved that the property was inherited from the fourth generation, that is totally wrong. That is total misinterpretation of law. Now Hindu law is a very unique law which has no parallel in any other law or any other legal system of the prevalent in the world. Why I say so? Because in Hindu law, a son is born with a silver spoon. Why we say that he is born with a silver spoon? Because the moment he is born in the family, he becomes the owner of the property. Am I clear? The moment he takes birth in the family, he becomes the owner of the property. Now, if we go by another thing, not even the son who was born, but if a son is in womb of the mother, then from the date when he is detected to be in the womb of the mother, from that day, sometimes it will be said that he has become the owner of the property. So our Hindu law has gone to that extent to which none of the generations, none of the other laws, or none of the other legal systems have ever gone. So this is something very unique in Hindu law. Now, as far as the property is concerned, incidence of parsimony is that everybody who is born in the family, he takes an interest by birth. Now, one restriction was put under the Hindu law, which has now been modified by the legislature, because only the male members in the family used to be the co-partners. Though a female member was a member of the joint Hindu family, but she was not a member of the co-partnership. Now, joint Hindu family is a larger concept in which daughters, widowed sons, daughters, or widow of a son, mother, everything, everyone, every female was a member of the family, but they had no right in the property. Their right was to claim maintenance from the income of the joint Hindu family property. They could not ask for partition, because if you are a male member and you are a member of the joint Hindu family, you are a member of the co-partnership, then you can ask for partition of the property. Now, one thing which I would like to clear here is that in Punjab, a judgment has been given by Mr. Justice Punchi that a son in Punjab cannot ask for partition during the lifetime of the father. So one or two judgments have come thereafter also that son cannot claim the partition of the property during the lifetime of the father. But those judgments are against the ancient Hindu law. Because if a co-partner is there and he wants partition and he wants to have its own independent life and he is not allowed to get his share partitioned and marketed, then what will be the use of holding the property by him? So incidence of co-partner is that anybody who is born in the family, male member, he takes an interest in the Hindu family, joint family property by birth. Then comes co-partner, how the partner is created. Now, can anybody tell, please unmute, what is the nature of a co-partner?
Mm. Nature of coparcenary means, can you just elaborate the question?
But nature of coparcenary means that how it is being created.
That question was coming to my mind, but technically if I see, presuming A has died and the property there
No,
is,
we are not here A and B and all C. It is a legal proposition.
The nature of coparcenary is created by the conduct of the parties.
No. Coparcenary is a creation of law. Coparcenary is a creation of law. Coparcenary cannot be created by agreement. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So it cannot be claimed or created by agreement. Suppose 5 male members of the family join together and say that we will file, we will form a coparcenary. That is wrong. Because when we say that coparcenary is there, coparcenary means there has to be a first last male holder of the property. Then property has to devolve from that last male holder to the other male holders of the male coparceners of the family. So it cannot be created by agreement. Now what can be created by agreement is a joint family property. There is one judgment of the Supreme Court of India that joint Hindu family is a creation of agreement. It is not a creation of law. Because there are two brothers. They are working independently. They purchase a joint property by contributing the funds. Then the nature of that property will be joint family property, not ancestral property. Because coparcenary means that it has to be devolved on a person from his ancestors, from his male ancestors. Then here also lies the difference that Hindu undivided family. Now Hindu undivided family has been created by whom? Can anybody answer?
Statute, sir.
HUF, so you can do it by agreement also.
Which statute has created HUF?
Indian Succession Act.
No. Abhay says that it is created by Income Tax Act.
It is mentioned in the Income Tax Act. Whether it created by it or not.
वहाँ तो है और पर्पस भी
वहाँ
आज
तो
का
है।
यही है, आज का पर्पस भी यही है.
A Hindu undivided family is a creation of Income Tax Act. It is totally oblivious of the coparcenary property or joint family property. Hindu undivided family is only has been created under the under the income tax law for the purposes of assessing the taxation. Their wife can also be a member, daughter can also be a member, son can also be a member. Anybody in the can be a member in Hindu undivided family. And then the law prescribes, income tax prescribes that how the income of the Hindu undivided family has to be taxed. So Hindu undivided family is a creation of law, that is Income Tax Act. And now one thing which is very, very important is that we often confuse between the three concepts: coparcenary property, joint family property, and Hindu undivided family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So these are, all the three are having a different connotations. It is not one. They are creation of their own. Coparcenary is created by law, by Hindu law. How can you say that it is coparcenary is created by such and such law? So it is ancient Hindu law which has created the coparcenary. Joint family is a creation of consent, contract between the parties, that we jointly purchase the property. Members of the family jointly purchase the property. That is a joint family property. And Hindu undivided family has been created by the Income Tax Act only for the purposes of assessing the income tax. And the members are defined therein. So that is the main distinction between the three. So that has to be borne in mind, because we loosely use the term co-parcenary, okay, joint family property or Hindu undivided family. So they are not having the same meaning. They are not having the same implications. They are not having the same results. Every concept has its own meaning, which has been assigned to it under the law. Then comes the interest that a co-partner has to possess. So it is unpredictable and goes on varying and fluctuating. With every birth in the family, it increases. It decreases. And with the death of any co-partner, it will decrease. It will increase. So the interest at any point of time, unless and until a partition has been effected by metes and bounds of the co-partner property, no co-partner can say that I have such and such, or my share is 1/5, my share is 1/7, my share is 1/2, my share is 1/3. Nobody can say. But it goes on fluctuating and it is unpredictable. So that is one of the major incidents of co-partnership, that the interest therein will go on fluctuating and it is unpredictable. Then next incidence of co-partnership is that there is a community of interest and unity of possession. Community of interest means joint interest. All the co-partners have a joint interest. And unity of possession, because the possession is joint, everyone will be deemed to be in possession. Now, co-sharer is different. Co-sharer is a different concept. A co-partner cannot be called a co-sharer, because co-partner is getting his right under the Hindu law. Co-sharer has only its own meanings, its own liabilities, its own merits and demerits. So there has to be community of interest and unity of possession. Then comes right of maintenance, education, medical aid, etc. All the members of the joint Hindu family, including the co-partners, have a right to be maintained out of the income of the joint Hindu family property, in which co-partner is a narrower body, while joint Hindu family is a larger body. So they have a right, even the daughter has a right to be maintained, to be married out of the funds of the Hindu joint family. So right of maintenance, food, etc., medical aid, that can be covered, or can be the income of the joint Hindu family can be spent on the same. Then comes the status of a illegitimate son. Now, will you unmute?
Anji.
In Roman, there is one phrase which determines and defines an illegitimate son.
In Roman?
जो हमारी वो आती है idioms and phrases आते हैं, उसमें उसको illegitimate son को filius nullis कहा जाता है. Filius nullis, because a illegitimate son is never a part and parcel of the co-partner or joint Hindu family. Though the father may be liable to maintain the said son. कहते थे दासी पुत्र. दासी पुत्र क्यों कहते थे? Because his wife was a permanent keep of the father. Now, can anybody give the example of a dasi putra from some scripture?
Jujutsu, Mahabharata.
Mahabharata. No.
Vidur.
Vidur was a dasi putra. Vidur was a Dasi Putra. He had no right in the property. So that is why, being elder, he was not given any right of becoming the king of the Hastinapur. So Dasi Putra had no right in the property. Now under section 16 of the Hindu Succession Act, here I'll connect that a illegitimate son is never called an illegitimate son, because no one is born bastard. That is based on that principle. They say that father is liable to maintain the son, and secondly, from the personal property of the father, which is not co-parcenary property, he can claim a share in the property of the father. So there was one example of our great politician,
That's right.
Mr. Tiwari.
Andy Tiwari.
Andy Tiwari.
Hmm.
Ultimately, his son succeeded in proving himself to be the son on the basis of DNA.
DNA test.
And he was entitled to inherit the property of Mr. Tiwari and not the ancestral property owned by Mr. Tiwari. So, if we want to understand the law, we have to keep our eyes open for the happenings which are being happening throughout our life or in or around us, so we can gain an example to better understand the law. Suppose a judge asks that what is the status of an illegitimate son. If you say that son of Mr. Andy Tiwari, everybody will laugh, and the judge will immediately come to know that what you are saying. So that is the way when one can explain the things. Because he is a filius nullis and he is not a co-partner, he is not entitled to any share in the personal property, though he is entitled to a share in the property owned and possessed exclusively by the father, that is his self-acquired property. Then comes sane and insane co-partners. Suppose a son has been born, he is insane from the very beginning. Then he will be deemed to be a co-partner. His rights are to be safeguarded by appointing a guardian. Or suppose a co-partner gets insane after he is born in the family for some time, lucid intervals. Then for that purpose, his guardian can be appointed who can safeguard the interest of the insane person. So sane and insane person both can be co-partners. There is no such bar that insane person will be barred from being a member of the co-partnery. Then we come the right of separation. Suppose there has been a partition between the parties, between the co-partners. A, B and C, they were the co-partners, brothers. There has been a partition. Now, when A, B and C get a share in the partition, in their hands it will be the self-acquired property, though it may be ancestral in their hands. But it will acquire the character of ancestral property for their sons. Son of A can always say, look here, you have inherited the property from your father. Though it has been given to you in partition, I have a share in it. So you cannot deny that share to me. So that share has to be given to him. And he will constitute a co-partnery with a co-partnery. Suppose let us take it otherwise. We were taking the example of A, B, C and D. B has his own sons. C has his own sons. D has his own sons. So there is a larger co-partnery and there is a co-partnery within a co-partnery, because D will constitute a co-partnery with his own sons. He will constitute a co-partnery with his own sons. He will constitute a co-partnery with his own sons. So that is known as a co-partnery within a co-partnery. Bigger co-partnery, and then there are the parts thereof. shorter parts of the coparcenary. When partition has taken by meets and bounds, then the property acquired by any coparcener will be ancestral in his own hands for his own sons. If he does not have a son, then certainly it will be his self-acquired property. Till a son is born to him, he can dispose of खा पी सकता है, सारा कुछ property बर्बाद कर सकता है. The moment a son is born to him, it assumes the character of a coparcenary property. Now, second is, can the father change the character of the property by making a will or gift of the property? If a father is holding a coparcenary property and he has only one son, can the father change the character of the property by executing a will?
No, he cannot.
No, he cannot.
He cannot.
Of his own share, he cannot change the character of that family by executing a will or gift deed. However, the power of Karta is to gift a share of small part of the property to anyone. Basic Authority is 1954 Supreme Court, in which it has been said that, okay, father can make a small gift of the property out of the coparcenary property. It is not that entire property can be given by him in gift to his sons or to one of the sons and deprive the other sons of that. So now one thing is very also taken care of, that Mr. Vishal,
हाँ जी
unmute.
जी कर दिया.
हमारे जो हिंदुस्तान में है या कहीं भी है, what is the nature of our family? By which law or by what we are considered to be the members?
Mitakshara. We are governed by Mitakshara.
No, that is particular law. It is patriarchal society.
Patriarchal, not matriarchal.
It is not matriarchal. So we are known by the name of the father. We are not known by the name of the mother. Though another paradox will come into picture. Mother is class 1 legal heir. Father is class 2 legal heir.
Class 2.
Because they proceed on that premises that maternity is certain, but paternity is not certain. So that is the basic concept behind it. Now you must have noticed that in females, earlier they used to write the name of the husband when PAN card was issued to the ladies. But now
it's the father.
It is the father. Now the reason behind that was that a wife can divorce the husbands in number of times. मान लीजिए 2 बार शादी कर ली, 2 बार डिवोर्स हो गया, तो अब किसका नाम चलेगा? So then they said that no, paternity cannot be changed. Father's name of the girl will remain the same. Or enter the name of the father in the income tax PAN record. So sometimes there are things and acts which are done by the legislature, keeping in view these changing scenarios. Because law is never static. It goes on changing with the nature of the atmosphere, circumstances and things, etc. So it goes on changing. Now, one power, suppose no partition, partition is sought by any of the sons. This was one of the questions which was posed to us during the course of argument, during the course of discussion by a very well-known family of Ludhiana, that whether the father can effect the partition of the property even if nobody has asked for it. So it was when we studied the law at that juncture, we found that father is known as patria potestas. So we go deep into the matter was known as patria potesta, and he has a right to effect the partition of the compulsory property, even if none of the compulsoners have asked for it. He can impose the partition on them. Look here, I don't want to be there. I don't want the property to remain as joint. There is a dispute amongst you. So, in that capacity, he can vary the shares also, but not to that extent that he can deprive one partner from the entire property. There can be a slight variation in the shares. So, any partition which has been effected by the father, suo motu, that is known as patria potesta. That is also recognized under law. So sometimes the law and the interpretation is changing day by day. So I come to one important ruling reported in 1986 AIR Supreme Court, Wealth Tax Commissioner versus so and so. You must have read all that ruling in number of times. अब उसमें क्या कहा उन्होंने कि साहब देखिए, there are two line of succession. एक तो जो हिंदू लॉ के हिसाब से है, एक हिंदू सक्सेशन एक्ट के हिसाब से है. तब section 6 was there that there is a notional partition immediately before the death. The partition, the partner had asked for the partition of the property. So his share is to be determined on the basis of a notional partition. Now, if we go deep into that judgment and the head note, that judgment has been misinterpreted by the head note of the judgment made by the AIR authorities. They say that section 8 gives another right. So after section 8 has come into force, then there is no ancestral property. Now the facts of that case was that there was a partition among us, the father and the sons. Every son had taken their share. Father has also taken his own share. Then another son was born to the father. So father and son, that subsequently born son, they had one share. They constituted a co-partnership. But the law said, no. Look here, section 8 is there. There cannot be two set of heirs. As such, the concept of co-partnership or ancestral property is totally gone. So sometimes what happens is that head notes made by the publishers of journals, they do misinterpret the law, misinterpret the judgments, and make a judgment as if it contains something else than what the law is. So how can there be two interpretations, two set of heirs regarding co-partnership property? It cannot be, because the share of the father, at the most, share of the father can go by virtue of the provisions of section 8 to the entire property. So they say no. Everything goes. Now it has to be equally divided amongst all the persons, whether males or females. That is the law. और हुआ क्या कि उसके बाद उसको blindly follow करना शुरू कर दिया. कि देखो जी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कह दिया तो दो सेट ऑफ heirs हो गए, हो ही नहीं सकते. There is only one set of heirs, and section 8 says prescribes another set, and the law prescribes another set. So it's all gone. So the thing is that we don't go even through sometimes the judgments in its entirety. My senior used to say कि भैया सारी जजमेंट को पूरा पढ़ो पहले, don't go by the head notes. Now head note तो पेपर में आता है PM in jail. हम कहते हैं बड़े खुश होते हैं, भंगड़ा डालते हैं कि मोदी साहब जेल में चले गए. But when we go through the newspaper news item, then we come to know that he had gone to inspect the jail. So head note is always confusing and misleading. If we go to the facts of the case, only then we'll come to know. Because every judgment, as has been said by the Supreme Court and our own High Court, it is not a case law. It is a face law. Vishal, unmute kar dona.
हाँ जी sir.
When I joined the practice, my senior used to say कि जो ये केस लॉ है ना जी, ये फेस लॉ है. हमने कहा सर कैसे? वो कहते हैं, you show me the face, I'll tell you the law. तो हम बड़े हैरान होते थे भी ये क्या बात हुई. तो हम समझते थे कि वकील का चेहरा देख के वो लॉ बना देते हैं. बस at that time हमें तो इतनी समझ नहीं थी फेस लॉ किसको कह रहे हैं. Then slowly and slowly we came to know कि जो फैक्ट्स हैं, फैक्ट्स के अंदर ऐसे कुछ फैक्ट होते हैं कि arise to a particular judgment which cannot be applied in each and every case, because you must have seen and practiced in High Court that a judgment is always distinguished on facts. कभी लॉ पे हमने जजमेंट को डिस्टिंग्विश किया? Never. We have never done. You must have never done. We have never done that we change or we distinguish a judgment on the basis of the law. Because law remains the same. It has to apply with all the rigors. So it cannot be changed. But the facts, now the Supreme Court has gone even to the extent that one fact may change the entire decision in the case. So we have to see in what context a particular judgment has been made. So the other part of the ancestral nature of the coparcenary we will be dealing tomorrow. Now I want an elaborate discussion and question answer on this aspect of the part which we have discussed today.
Should I start?
Yes.
सवाल बहुत होते हैं अपने पास.
कोई बात ही नहीं सर. हम घबराते नहीं हैं जितने मर्जी सवाल.
That we know, sir. That we know, that we are very sure of. So my question is,
मुल्ला का ही सवाल पूछोगे.
I would ask you, I would request you to explain the concept of creation of coparcenary again. What I mean to say is, A की अपनी self acquired property है, B पैदा हो गया, B के C हो गया, C के D हो गया, वो self acquired है. Why does it need to be a coparcenary, or and when does it become compulsorily coparcenary?
Now if A acquires the property from his own funds,
जी.
till the lifetime of that father, it will remain to be a self acquired property.
Right.
The moment he dies, Qua B, not rather Qua B, rather the grandsons of sons of B, the property will become ancestral in the hands of B.
Okay. So, even if this C is born,
yes,
D is not born, but C is born, it will become ancestral. Third degree.
It will not become ancestral till the person dies.
Till the person dies. A dies. A dies, B and C are there in this world, D is not there in the world. So A dies, so B C के लिए ancestral हो गई अभी. B
के हाथों में Qua C.
Qua C ancestral है.
Qua C ancestral.
So C can claim his right.
Yes.
B does not have an absolute right.
Does not have an absolute right.
And it becomes a coparcenary, you want to say.
It becomes a coparcenary.
Unless A transfers it by way of will to B.
Yes.
If he transfers by, अगर वो intestate, if he dies intestate, it is only then it becomes coparcenary.
That is the only question, that whether the property has gone by without any testamentary succession.
Yes.
By inheritance.
Yes.
So there lies the difference. If it is gone by inheritance, then it will become ancestral.
Ancestral.
अगर मैं आपको गिफ्ट ही कर देता हूँ और या मैं आपको वैसी प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर कर देता हूँ जैसे आजकल पंजाब में है, that I can transfer my property to my son by paying a small amount.
That's right, blood relations पे.
Then qua the sons, grandsons, property will not be ancestral in the hands of the son.
In the hands of the son. तो इसके हिसाब से तो फिर थर्ड डिग्री पे ancestral हो गई.
थर्ड डिग्री पे ancestral. हमेशा ही थर्ड डिग्री पे ancestral होती है.
वो हमेशा सुना ही जाता है कि 4th डिग्री पे, दैट इज द इशू, दैट इज व्हाई
4th डिग्री से तो कैलकुलेट करना है, मैक्सिमम 3 डिग्री से ऊपर जाना बस आपने। मान लीजिए मेरा ग्रेट ग्रैंडफादर है,
हरियाणा में बोलते हैं दादा लाई प्रॉपर्टी।
हाँ, दादा लाई
प्रॉपर्टी, तो दैट इज 3rd डिग्री।
3rd डिग्री। और सर फिर इसमें जो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन मेरा ये आता है कि like you said na that with the birth of a male child the coparcenary is added and the with the death it goes,
yes
right?
अब मान लीजिए, अब मैं आपका जवाब देता हूँ उसका। ए है, एक लड़का है बी, ठीक है, सी और डी अभी एग्जिस्टेंस में नहीं है
जी,
या सी आ गया एग्जिस्टेंस में, क्वाज सी इट विल बी इंसेस्टर, और ए हैज गॉट द प्रॉपर्टी फ्रॉम हिज फादर,
राइट,
उसका एक ही लड़का बी, suppose another son is born to him, तो इंटरेस्ट कम हो गया, 1/3 हो गया,
1/3 हो गया।
मान लीजिए बी की डेथ हो गई और सी बॉर्न ही नहीं हुआ, तो ए का सारा शेयर बढ़ गया, becomes the sole owner of the property.
So my question is, presuming B, A के 2 बच्चे हैं, B and C, अब B के आगे 2 बेटे हैं, C के आगे 4 बेटे हैं, तो आप B का 1 यूनिट आगे 2 में जाएगा कि, और C का 1 यूनिट आगे 4 में जाएगा कि आप सबको को-पार्टनर गिन लोगे? एक यूनिट will be divided into further 2 units, ना?
Yes.
And
per capita and per that is one known as per capita.
Per capita, वो 1 यूनिट आगे चला गया उसके अंदर।
All should match up. If anybody is having child, you should also have child to ensure equal participation.
Yes.
नहीं, अब वो तो यूनिट बन गया ना, B और C का तो अलग अलग यूनिट है। अब B के आगे 4 लड़के हैं और C के 8 हों, तो B का 1 यूनिट into 4 होगा, C का 1 into 8 होगा।
Therefore, I'm saying you should have equal number of kids.
Yes.
नहीं, हाँ, I would say least number of kids.
So one more thing, in just in continuation to A gets the property from his father,
Yes.
and B dies. C also, his both his children B and C die, so he becomes the absolute in charge of the property. But
Yes.
even in that situation, the property remains ancestral only, or it becomes his.
No,
his
it will remain to be self-acquired property.
Achha, it will turn into a self-acquired property.
Yes.
He may have a child at any point subsequent, given his age, he may be young.
ना, अगर उसके बाद में कभी लड़का हो जाता है B और C की डेथ के बाद,
D हो गया.
but a son is born, again it will be converted back
Again, it
into
will become ancestral. So nature will change like this.
nature will change like that. तो मतलब वही मैं कह रहा हूँ ना जी कि फेस लॉ है ये।
एक आपने जो वो जजमेंट डिस्कस की थी, उस हिसाब से A B C थे, पार्टीशन हो गई,
हाँ जी,
ठीक है ना, और उसके बाद A के एक और बच्चा हो गया, ठीक है,
B और C का तो अलग हो गया, A की एक बच्चा और हो गया,
एक बच्चा और हो गया, फिर उसको अब क्या शेयर्स होंगे आगे?
अब A का शेयर पूरा उसको जाएगा, जो नया बच्चा हुआ है
पूरा उसको जाएगा,
क्योंकि B और C ने तो शेयर ले ही लिया पहले।
और अगर A के 2 बच्चे हो जाते फिर
तो फिर 2-3 हो जाएंगे शेयर उसका। It depends upon your procreating।
नहीं, फिर A का शेयर 2 में डिवाइड हो जाता है,
2 में डिवाइड हो जाएगा,
टू दैट न्यू
3 में डिवाइड होगा ना, एक अपना शेयर भी होगा ना फादर का।
हाँ, अपना तो हो ही गया, तो फिर अच्छा, एंड देन आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ A फिर क्या होगा?
B और उसके जो दोनों नए बच्चे आए हैं उनको मिलेगा,
सिर्फ उनको मिलेगा, एज पर सेक्शन 8 नहीं जाएगा
ना, सेक्शन 8
सेक्शन
मगर
8
हिंदू लॉ के हिसाब से वैसे सेक्शन 8 नहीं लगेगा, बट द सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज मेड सेक्शन 8 एप्लीकेबल।
तो फिर प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो तो सेक्शन 8 का ही हो गया ना।
सेक्शन 8 में भी आके उन्होंने कह दिया कि जो प्रॉपर्टी में पहले शेयर ले बैठे हैं उसमें भी शेयर आपको मिलेगा, उसका थोड़ी शेयर मिलेगा।
हाँ,
प्रॉपर्टी,
फिर वो पार्टीशन का तो इफेक्ट ही नहीं आया।
हाँ, फिर तो फायदा ही नहीं हुआ पार्टीशन का, तो पहले तो शेयर ले लिया फिर ले लिया जी। मतलब वो जिसको कहते हैं ना कि चौपड़ियां नाले 2-2।
ये ठीक है,
because sometimes the matter is not being presented and argued in a proper manner, and secondly the thing was that it was a case under the Wealth Tax Act, उसमें हिंदू अनडिवाइडेड फैमिली का कंसेप्ट ही डिफरेंट था, दोनों को हौच-पौच कर गए। अच्छा, अब किसी में एक केस में जाके ये आया था कि सेक्शन 8 को ना जी अब उस जजमेंट को रिविजिट करेंगे, दोबारा से डिसाइड करेंगे. That was admitted for a larger bench. Ultimately, there was a compromise between the parties. चलो बात खत्म हो गई. वो खत्म ही हो गया केस.
I have a question.
Right.
Though it may not directly pertain to the present controversy, but it has certain nuances to it. We often come across matters wherein the person who is the last male holder, or we say karta of the family, sells a joint
Right.
Hindu family property and purchases an alternative property from the amount which he receives from that sale consideration. And then often the dispute arises between the children, as he doesn't make that property as a joint Hindu property, the subsequent purchased property, and names that property by way of a will to a particular son. The other son challenges it by filing a suit that the sale deed executed by my father in favor of my another son is not valid because it is a joint ancestral property purchased from the funds received by sale of the joint Hindu property. Now, in these type of instances,
सर आवाज कट रही है आपकी. करण जी.
आवाज कट रही है सर. सर मैं
सर,
लिख
वो
के दूं क्वेश्चन.
आपके कनेक्शन में शायद दिक्कत है सर. आवाज इसकी क्लियर है वैसे तो.
आवाज क्लियर है.
सर आपका कनेक्शन स्लो है मेरे ख्याल से. अभी आप बल्कि सुनाई भी नहीं दे रहे हो. आपको आपका वीडियो भी स्टॉप हो गया है.
मेजॉरिटी 12 वालों की है.
Karan, repeat your question, please.
It was slightly lengthy. I'll recollect the difficulties again.
Yes.
So my question was that a karta of a Hindu undivided family,
Yes.
HUF, he sells the joint Hindu family property and purchases another property.
Right.
And then he executes a will in favor of his favored son.
Right.
Then his another son who's left out of the benefit impugns his action by filing a civil suit saying that the property bequeathed by my father in favor of my elder brother
Right.
should be considered as a joint ancestral property because it is purchased from the sale proceeds of joint Hindu family property.
Right.
Now often, sir, it happens that there is very remote link of evidence. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that every case would have its own sense of things, but to defeat the cases, usually it has happened that the previous joint Hindu property is sold at a particular date, and after a span of year or two, the subsequent property is purchased to ensure that there is no link between two sales. So to say that they were not purchased from that. What is the level of evidence and law on this aspect?
Now, in such like cases, proximity of time has to be seen. Period of 1 or 2 years cannot be seen.
Okay.
That is immaterial.
Right.
Secondly, the father has to prove that he had the means to purchase the property.
That onus would be on father, sir.
Father, yes. Thirdly, then he has to show that where the funds which he has received by the sale of the ancestral property has gone.
Okay, right, sir. And sir, ek aur, subject to your approval, one more clarification on this. Sir, while we challenge the sale deed executed by the will or sale deed executed by father in favor of his son, as it happens in Punjab ke lesser value pe sale deed kara dete hain. Parallelly, are we required under law to challenge that sale deed also pertaining to the actual joint Hindu family property as well?
Yes, that sale deed.
Both sale deeds are to be challenged. So there lies an impediment if we do not challenge the previous sale deed by which the father sold the joint Hindu family property. We cannot challenge the subsequent sale deed also which he has favored.
Because when we will be discussing tomorrow, Karta has a right to sell the property only for legal necessity or benefit of the estate. So son was under a duty to challenge the first deed in the first point of time.
Right, sir.
That look here, my father has executed the Karta has executed the sale deed without any legal necessity or benefit of the estate.
Right, sir.
But once he purchases that property from those very funds, maybe in any other name, maybe in the name of one of the co-partners, then that subsequently purchased property will assume the character of a joint Hindu family property.
Joint Hindu family property. Right.
मतलब ए को लेके बी को, ए को दे के बी ले लिया,
Yes sir. Yes sir.
तो अगर ए को दे के बी लिया है तो बी भी वही कैरेक्टर रहेगा जो ए का था.
Right sir.
तो यू कैन नॉट से कि भी भैया ये तो मैंने वो सेल डीड अलग से किया, ये अलग से किया, बट द सन इज अंडर ए ड्यूटी टू चैलेंज द सेल डीड executed by the father prior in time, which was regarding the joint in the family.
Joint in the family.
And otherwise also, if it is within limitation, he can challenge both the sale deeds in a joint suit. That the first
Yes.
sale deed is for without any legal access to the benefit of the state, and then
Yes.
secondly, the second sale deed is also a sham transaction.
Right sir. Right.
So as far as the value is concerned, so that is a tragedy with us. That market price is something else,
Yes sir.
and the collector price is something else. So there we can't help anything, because if we want to prove the market value, because market value can only be proved by the production of the sale deeds, and sale deeds will always be executed at the rate prescribed by the seller, collector.
Deputy collector. Yes sir.
The only thing which will pinch is that the subsequent purchaser who has purchased the property, he may have spent a lakh of rupees, but the sale deed is for a sum of 20,000.
Yes sir.
And if ultimately the sale is set aside, so he has the risk of losing 80,000.
Yes sir.
तो वो तो गला घोटेगा ही जाके फादर का, क्या जा भैया तूने मेरे से पैसे लिए थे, पैसे
बस ये गला ही घोट सकता है सर, प्रॉपर्टी तो वापस नहीं ले
प्रॉपर्टी
सकता.
तो वापस नहीं आएगी.
गला घुटता कहाँ है सर?
तो वो 420 का पर्चा हो, कोई
हाँ.
एग्रीमेंट होता है, कुछ और होता है कि that he has committed a fraud. He never disclosed to me that this property is ancestral and he has no power to sell the property. तो
Right.
चीटिंग का तो आ जाता है ना जी.
बिल्कुल सर. Thank you
sir,
sir. Thank
और
you sir.
420 का अगर एक बार पर्चा दर्ज हो गया तो then the father will have to come to terms.
Right sir. Right sir. सर वैसे इसके बारे में कल भी बात कर सकते हैं. There is this often term which we use in legal parlance that the succession stands open, or succession was open on such and such point in time. What is the larger understanding of opening of succession? Can it happen over a period of repeatedly with changing circumstances of co-partners, or it is one-time exercise?
It is one-time exercise.
Okay.
Section opens only on the death of the person immediately,
Okay.
and there is immediately vesting of the property to the lawful owners. And who may be the lawful owners? That we and the courts have to decide, and we get a bounty out of that.
There was a good saying today, कहता है आत्मनिर्भरता का मतलब ये नहीं कि कोई आप केस अपने आप लड़ोगे, वकील अभी भी करना पड़ेगा.
तो जब तक सक्सेशन एक्ट जैसे कानून होंगे ना, तब तक तो कोई खुद कर ही नहीं सकता सर.
कर ही नहीं सकता.
वो तो वकील भी अपना किसी और से ही करवा ले तो बेटर है सर.
तो वैसे भी कहते हैं ना कि अब अपना सिर आप ही नहीं गोद सकते ना जी. वो तो अगर सज्जन कहे कि मैं अपनी पेट की पथरी आप ही निकाल लूंगा, and that is something impossible. और क्योंकि उसमें क्या होता है मैं बताता हूँ करण जी, उसमें क्या चक्कर होता है कि आपका इमोशनल एंगल होता है.
Yes sir.
You are emotionally entangled in the case. तो जब इमोशनल एंगल हो तो फिर सारे एंगल खत्म हो जाते हैं.
बिल्कुल सर.
फिर बंदा ना इमोशनली सोचता है.
बिल्कुल.
Whereas an advocate has to think it practically and legally.
Yes sir.
Which you may not be able to do it otherwise.
Yes sir.
So it is better always to engage other counsel, as Mr. Vishal has said. आत्मनिर्भरता नहीं करनी चाहिए, दूसरे को भी कुछ देना चाहिए.
Right.
Maybe a cup of tea or cup of coffee. Any other question by anyone?
Sir, two questions from my side.
Right.
First, sir, what father's property, can it be considered under the definition of ancestral property?
Pardon? Father's property?
Can be considered under the definition of ancestral property?
No, if the father has self-acquired the property from his own means.
Yes, sir.
मान लीजिए father service करता है, he is an IAS officer. He gets his salary and he purchases the property. He has also inherited the property from his father. Then the property which has been inherited by him from his father, that is a separate property. That is ancestral property.
Okay.
But as far as the self-acquired property is concerned, which has been purchased by him from his own means, then he is free to deal with that property in any manner whatsoever.
ठीक है सर. थैंक यू सर. सर दूसरा ये सवाल है, फादर जो दादा ने जो प्रॉपर्टी है, he transferred it to all his sons by way of family settlement or by way of will.
Right.
उसके बाद whether the property still remains, now the property remains a self-acquired inherited property, or it will be the self-acquired property of the son.
Now it will depend again upon the same question, that if the father has obtained the property from his own father, then he cannot change.
Let's say जो दादा है उन्होंने अपनी self acquired property करी, but he
फिर कर सकते हैं हम. Then it will be self acquired property of the sons.
Got that. Thank you.
Because that is, क्योंकि ऐसा है ना कि जी inheritance का जो question है, that is by natural succession. और once you change the mode, मान लीजिए will कर दी, will has to be proved like under Succession Act. So that is a different mode. Suppose a gift deed has been executed, a sale deed has been executed. So meaning thereby that mode has been changed. So the grandsons cannot challenge that this property is ancestral in the hands of our father. Because it has to be inheritance by natural succession, not by any other mode.
Till the time this will, gift deed or whatever it continues, the concept of ancestral or co-partnery would not come into play. It's a generation to generation.
Some judgments have come now. The father cannot change the character of the joint in the family of a property by executing a bill or by any other. There are one or two judgments.
So what is the right of the Pichlak son? Like if
Pichlak son is no son. No, he has no son.
Like if she marries somebody, she brings a son from the earlier marriage. Her husband has died. Now she has married some other person. Now whether that son has a right in the property of a father of a person with whom she has remarried?
No, because the question is that firstly he is not the son of the father. Secondly, at the most he will be considered to be a illegitimate son, even not illegitimate because he has not been born from the loins of that father. So he can inherit the property of his own father from where he has taken birth, but not from the property of his further father with whom his mother has solemnized the marriage.
But if he is adopted?
If he is adopted, then he assumes the character of a son.
Natural son.
Natural son.
Then he's not Pichlak, na? Then he's not Pichlak. If he's adopted,
then he's not Pichlak.
Then he's not Pichlak.
And Pichlaks are adopted, that is why.
Pichlak का मतलब ये है ना जी.
Pichlak क्या है?
Pichlak के नाल है. दहेज आया हो.
Gunenda आया, gunenda.
Pichlak means he पिछों आया और he has come in as a dowry article with his mother.
सर लेकिन जैसे हरियाणा में कई जगहों पे एक रिचुअल है कि अगर एल्डर ब्रदर मर जाता है तो यंगर ब्रदर को के बिठा देते हैं वाइफ को.
हाँ जी.
जिसे हम वो भी कहते हैं कि चुन्नी चढ़ाई मैरिज,
चद्दर अंदाजी कहते हैं.
चढ़ाना कहते हैं.
चद्दर अंदाजी है वैसे, चुन्नी चढ़ाना तो नहीं, चद्दर अंदाजी.
जी सर.
एक चादर मैली सी.
पहले बेटा था, जो पहले उसका बेटा था वो सिर्फ अपने फादर की प्रॉपर्टी में ही राइट ले पाएगा या जिस चाचा के साथ उसकी मदर की शादी हुई है उसकी प्रॉपर्टी?
फादर की प्रॉपर्टी.
ओनली फादर की प्रॉपर्टी.
ओनली फादर की प्रॉपर्टी.
ओके सर.
क्योंकि देखिए मैं बताता हूँ कि जो कंसेप्ट था ना ये महाभारत का कि 5 भाइयों की एक बहन थी, तो आप आज से 50 या 60 साल पहले चले जाओ, एक ही साथ वाइफ थी, तो आज से 50 या 60 साल पहले चले जाओ तो गांव में क्या होता था, 5 भाई होते थे, शादी एक ही होती थी. क्यों? they never wanted their property to be divided. कहते थे भैया एक लेडी आ गई है उससे ही काम चला लो आप. Division of the property.